CentralValleyTalk.com.
Welcome back to the Patty Sadler Show. I'm so glad that you joined us, and I'd like to welcome you and have you meet my new guest, Susan Burch. Hi, Susan. It's a pleasure to have you here on the show, and we have so many things to talk about. I'm so excited. First of all, Susan, why don't you tell us a little bit about your daughter?
Okay. My daughter is Chase Burch, and in 2007, she actually was diagnosed with a cancerous brain tumor. And that shook our whole life. She had been so incredibly healthy before that, and so we were completely stunned when that happened. And it really did affect us in so many ways. And so, now we see so many blessings that came from that. But at the time, of course, it was just devastation. And so, moving forward from that it really propelled us in a direction that we would never have seen our life.
Wait, well, how old was Chase when this occurred, and how did you find out that she had cancer?
She was actually 10 years old, and she was, like I said, just so healthy. And so she'd gotten sick one week, and then she got sick at the next week. And in my mind, it was truly miraculous that she was diagnosed when she was. Because she hadn't hardly been sick. And when we went to the doctor, he told us, we'd gone to the pediatrician, they could hardly find her file because we hadn't been there. She was so healthy,
Yeah.
And, but anyway, when we left that doctor's office, he told us that he would give us a call. And he'd never done that before. He said, I'm just going to check in on her because she'd gotten sick in his office. And I thought that was really sweet of him. But anyway, in the meantime, we said a prayer for her. And in that prayer, it talked about how we would have to have faith to get through this experience, and so many things that I think my husband, who was saying the prayer, stepped away and said, wow, where did those words come from? That wasn't from me. And we both were a little confused because it looked like she just had the flu. And when he called again, the doctor asked us what he could, or how she was doing. And we said, she's doing a lot better. It's not so much her tummy now. It's just her head. It's just her head is really hurting. And he said, you know what? Well, he paused for a while and said, you know what? Let's get her in for a CAT scan.
Uh-huh.
And when we took her to go get that CAT scan, the doctor, by that time she was feeling some better, and the doctor was going to send her home. And so many of our friends have been sent home over and over again from an ER. And they just take so long to diagnose, because the brain tumor is difficult to diagnose. It hides because they think it's something else.
Uh-huh.
And so anyway, so when the doctor, when he said, he told us he was going to send her home, and he started writing out the order form, the order so that we could go home. And then he paused and he said, you know what, let's go ahead and get her in for that CAT scan. And when he came back in the room, he actually closed the curtain and he said, thank you, Lord, for inspiring me to do that CAT scan. And in that prayer, it said that the doctors would be inspired to know what to do. And so we truly feel it was miraculous that she was diagnosed.
It was a miraculous recovery from what I've seen and heard about this story. I mean, it's been an amazing story.
Yeah.
I'd like to show and share with you a commercial that Chase was in. And she was at St. Jude's, is that correct?
She was. We went to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital.
Let's go ahead and see her little commercial and see little Chase.
Okay.
Chase loves books, but last year she was having trouble reading.
I had a bad headache.
Yeah, I know. It was a brain tumor. A doctor sent her to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We have the largest, most successful pediatric brain cancer research program in the world.
This story has a happy ending.
So will yours, sweetie.
Give thanks to the healthy kids in your life, and give to those who are not. Donate now at stjude.org or shop wherever you see our magnifying glass.
Wow. So let me ask you this. From my understanding, St. Jude's was very instrumental in her recovery and in the ability for you to afford to have care for her and take care of her needs. Is that right?
I always say they made a miserable experience the best it could possibly be. we were taken care of there so incredibly well. And there are so many good charities you could give to. And I remember hearing about St. Jude and thinking that, that's a wonderful charity and what a good hospital for kids. But I didn't really know much about it. And when we went there, it is better than they ever say it was. And what's amazing to me is not only when you go there are they treating the child with such love, like they did my daughter, but they housed us and they fed us.
Wow.
And everything was for free.
So all of your stuff, all of your housing costs and all your needs were taken care of while they took care of your daughter. And these funds that they fund this through donations, is that correct?
They do.
Completely through donations?
They say it takes $1.9 million every single day to run that hospital.
Wow.
And every child that goes there, I love, because my daughter became one of their national spokespersons, so we have spoken quite a bit about St. Jude, and I have a huge heart for St. Jude, because not only did they save my daughter, but every bit of their research that they do there goes towards, they share it freely with the world. And so they say that every child that goes there, it's like affecting over 1,000 children. So every dollar that you give to that hospital, you think you can times that by 1,000, because you are affecting so many. If you go to our hospital here, they're using the St. Jude protocol. If your daughter or son got leukemia, or your grandchild had leukemia, they're using the St. Jude protocol because of the research they did there.
Wow.
And so not only were they a phenomenal hospital that took us in and loved us and cared for us and nurtured us and helped my family and helped my 2 children that weren't patients. And I cannot say enough about that wonderful hospital.
Well, it's inspiring to know that we have St. Jude's, and I think worldwide it's important to realize that they're there. And I'll just boldly put it out there: if you have the desire or ability, give to St. Jude's, because it changes the lives of many. And it does enrich the lives of the families as well.
Absolutely.
Susan is also, she is a wonderful author. I have been blessed to read some of her work. And right now she is working on, well, actually, let's talk about your book here, The Richer Than Royalty. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where your inspiration came from this book and the purpose of this book?
I work with the youth at my church and the young women. And I remember I was trying to relate this lesson to them, and it was talking about gratitude. And it just came to me, and I started telling them this story that just came off the top of my head about a young woman and how she, actually I was talking about more like the princes and the princes and what their experience was. And how they had to, if they wanted to be warm, they have to have rocks that were heated, and they were, servants would come in and put them under their mattresses, and all of these things. They'd have to have people fanning them, or have minstrels come to entertain them. And then I related to them how we live better than royalty, and yet we take it for granted. How often do we get into our air-conditioned car and completely take it for granted, or the heat that's coming out? There's just so many things we take for granted in our lives that we just expect to happen for us. And we don't realize we live better than royalty did back in the day. And so I wanted to teach that, and I wanted to teach it through a very childlike way of doing it. And so I wanted to write that down. I just, in the morning I was getting ready for work, and all of a sudden I said, I want to write down that story. So I ran in. I had to do it while I had the inspiration. So I ran in, started typing, and this flowed out of me.
Wow.
And I reworked it since then.
Yeah.
But I'm very grateful, and I have an incredibly talented photographer who's also one of my very best friends, and her name is Susan Atwater, and we both are Susans. She took the photos for me, and she did a phenomenal job. So I'm very proud of this book, and that it turned out, better than I would have ever. And I love that when you feel truly inspired, you feel like you need to share something, and that's how this book is. I think that's something that we're missing so much in this world, is gratitude. And when you're grateful, you're happy. And
isn't that the truth?
it is so true.
Let me ask you something about this book. Can you tell us the purpose and what this has evolved into as far as a project? What your result was you were hoping to get from this book?
Really from the beginning, like I said, I was just truly inspired, and I really wanted to get first I just wanted that story to be told and get it out. And then I wanted to share what it means. Because I love the saying, when you focus on what you have everything. And when you
That's
focus
true.
on what you don't have, you have nothing.
That is so true.
And so that's what I want people to realize from this book, is that if we focus on the blessings in our life, then we have everything.
Yes, and when we when we forget those things, those blessings that we have, it's easy to sink into depression, to sink into just a whole different world. When you have that positive attitude and outlook and appreciation for what you have, then it's easier to, be grateful for that stuff. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I understand that some of the proceeds of this book do go to a fundraiser. Do you want
They
to tell us about that?
They do. So, like I said, St. Jude is definitely one of them. It's on the book. It says 20% of all profits. Right now, it's more like 50% is what we're trying to give for sure. And then the rest of it really is to publish the books and keep it going. But the different charities that it goes to, we have our own charity, and it's called Hats and Hair from Kids Who Care, and I want to talk to you about that
yeah.
after this. But
Yeah.
but the photographer, she also has a special needs daughter, and so she has started her own charity called Aware of Angels, and it's a photography project where you get to see these beautiful little children that have rare diseases or undiagnosed diseases.
Wow.
And she also helps, she's given out the DNA kits that are so costly. She's had those donated to families so that they can find out what is going on with their child. She does phenomenal things, and so that is another one of the charities that it will go towards, but also our own charity, which is called Hats and Hair from Kids Who Care.
And we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. Anyway, check out the book, and I think you can order it on lulu.com in the bookstore. And the proceeds do go to some of these foundations and to just keep the book going. So let's put it out there for Richer Than Royalty. I mean, it's an excellent children's book. And when we come back, we have some more things to talk about with Season, and we'll see you after the break.
This segment brought to you by Mirelis Wellness.